Journeys is recorded at Doghouse Studios. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube to keep the conversation going. Remember, if you like the content, like the content. Hello, today is Wednesday, March 30th. I'm Chad Jones, and this is Journeys. So, yesterday was a little bit more of a train of thought, free thinking episode, and I think today is going to be kind of along those same lines, more or less, because I genuinely hit a little writing wall where I just don't know what to talk about. So again, I have this concept of diet for the week. Let's talk about story time. Story time, yay! So, my diet is garbage for the most part. Actually, it's not. It's good for the most part. It's all the other stuff I jam into my friggin' mouth hole. At all hours of the day and night, that is bad. Like, my lunch going to work is usually vegetarian. Not a lot of sugar, not a lot of sweets. It's like fruits, veggies, nuts, and then like a main meal, and that'll usually last me the whole day. But then sometimes I get these like urges to go buy donuts, or when I get coffee, I'm like, oh, I'll just get a side of something. It's just like $1 something. Why not? And that adds up because it's not just the money, which, I mean, obviously the money is not exactly great spending, and I don't get a donut every time, but usually it's just the coffee. Actually, I don't know why I feel like I'm just being defensive now. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing to you guys through the microphone, saying I'm sorry for getting anyways, my point is that the calories add up and everything, but then when I get home, I'm like hungry, and then I'll eat dinner and I'm still hungry, so I'll have like a snack, and then that snack turns into 12 snacks, and then I'm just like sitting on the chair and couch like, I don't want to talk to Annette, I don't want to tell her what I did, but she'll find out. Oh, she'll find out. And then I just feel like garbage. So again, my normal diet day to day is like pretty healthy. It's just all the snacks that I seem to just jam into my face at the most inopportune times. I used to be vegan, actually. For those of you who knew, I was vegan for a while, and I wanted to go back to vegetarianism, just because the weight kind of comes off when you're not eating all these like animal byproduct. And you just feel clean. It's like burning a different fuel. It's like burning green energy versus burning, I don't know, diesel. And one thing about the diet that was great was that it just made me feel good most of the time. But then there's a lot of things I just like forced myself to say no to. And I think that was hard on Annette. Just limiting my scope. Now, when I was vegan, I was living with just her family, so it was really easy because it was like, oh, they have pasta, they have sauce, I'm good. You have specialty pasta with specialty sauce? Oh, even better. Then like all my supplements and pills and whatnot, just took those. But the one thing I found about being vegan was that I was just better than everybody else. Like, I could say I was better than everybody else. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm a vegan. And everybody just knew that I was better than them. Actually, it's funny. It's like when you go to the gym. If you're vegan and you go to the gym, like, how will anybody know? Well, don't worry. You'll tell them the second you meet them. Like, hi, I'm a gym vegan. What's up? I'm not a gym rat. I don't eat garbage. I eat veganism. The whole concept, just all in my mouth. But I found with that, like, I think that was the last time, like, I was genuinely happy with my diet, because I just felt like all the things I was saying no to were unhealthy anyways, and things that were like sugary, things that were, again, just meaty, greasy things that you don't really get when you're consuming vegetables all the time, or consuming vegetable substitutes, or meat substitutes. I don't know. There's a lot of things like within veganism that's just like, here's this tofu presented with some salt. Now it's a sausage. Congratulations, we just made you pay $7 for 2 sausages. And you're sitting there like, I love sausage. Put the sausage in my face. I want it. And then you buy it and you're like, it's tofu. Yeah, it's tofu. Yeah. So the reason I stopped veganism and the reason I kind of cut that out was that it just became difficult living in a house where Annette didn't want to eat vegetarian and she was buying meat. And I said, hey, we don't need to. And she's like, well, I want it. So, and especially when she was pregnant, because pretty much as soon as we moved out of London and out of her parents' house, when I was done school, she was just kind of like pregnant right away. So there's always like, oh man, like I need meat. I'm craving it. I want it. I can't live without it. So I stopped being vegan. I started being more vegetarian, and then I had meat, and now I just eat way too much meat, not enough veggies, and I feel horrible about it. And it's just crazy how your whole mindset, your body just change over time. And my body's like completely in flux all the time. It's constantly up and down, losing water weight, gaining weight, losing a little bit of weight, gaining weight, losing weight. Wow, there's a common theme somewhere in there. I gotta find it. But yeah, and I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just boring you guys about my diet, but I think the most profound thing I found about being vegan was that the limited scope of things and the limited scope of what you can eat really did narrow you down to either you're eating pure sugar or you're eating veggies. That's about it. Because sugar's vegan, 100% vegan. Peanut butter cookies, vegan. Sugar cookies, vegan if you use like vegan substitutes. A steak, vegan if you use tofu. It's a vegan steak, it's tofu. And then you look at it, it's just like a white piece of tofu that's not even properly fried. It just looks unappealing. You're like, why do you eat this? And the person's like, no, it's delicious. I just added some salt. It's so good. And you have a bite and you're like, it's tofu. Yeah. And the vegans like giving it to you like it's a Michelin star meal. Like, no. You really gotta enjoy the firmness of this tofu. It's a special kind of firm, straight from like the Brazilian rainforest. Does Brazil have rainforests? Anyways. And then, you eat that tofu and you're like, yeah, it's still tofu. It's still soybean. Oh man, tofu, I'm shitting on tofu, but tofu is actually delicious. We had this butter chicken tofu, so it's like a butter chicken sauce. Because I don't really know what that sauce is called on its own. Is it just butter sauce? But then that's like, butter sauce is just melted butter to me. Like I put butter sauce on popcorn. Like I put butter sauce on my bagel, my bagel, my bagel. I think that's the way you pronounce it. It's like Great Canadian bagel. But yeah, I mean, there are being human and eating is incredible because the diets are so versatile, and the way people try to balance their diet, whether it's I am vegetarian but I eat fish, I'm vegetarian but I drink milk, or I eat milk, or I have milk, or I'm vegan but I don't care about may contain or contains product. Like, there's so many things, and it's all such a unique, personal, individual story. And that's the crazy thing about diet, is that it's just so unique to every individual. And again, it's not being on a diet, it's just, having a diet. What is your diet? So actually, that is my question. Like, generally speaking, what is your diet. Are you vegetarian? Are you omnivorous? Omnivorous? Omnivore? An omnivore? Vegan? Like, where are you in the spectrum of what you eat? And do you eat well? Like, what, do you eat? Are you happy with what you eat? Tell me in the comments below. So more or less, I'm going to take a little break and I will talk to you on the other side. You know what kills me? I'm probably never going to be able to see probably one of, if not like the greatest rock band of my generation growing up. So for those of you who know but don't know, or people who don't know in general, the Foo Fighters, their drummer actually passed away 5 days ago on the 25th. I was supposed to go see them for the first time on July 22nd with my sister. My sister, who is actually going to be on the podcast this week. I got to figure out a day for that. I got to arrange some people. But, yeah. And it was her time that was, she was going to see them for the first time. And one thing that really struck me was that she's going through some rough stuff. She's going through a rough patch, and this is just kind of like the icing on top of the like turd cake, where she's going through it rough, and then she's like, oh, and the greatest band of my generation, one of my favorite bands, something I've been dying to see forever, I can finally get tickets. And they canceled all their shows. So, man, it sucks, because I know how much it meant. Obviously, like, it meant a lot to me. I love to see the Foo Fighters. They were, like I said, they're like the same level as the Chili Peppers for just bands from the 90s, like these classic bands that aren't going to be around forever. And unfortunately, the Foo Fighters, I'm pretty sure, are going to call it a day. I mean, they couldn't get Mike Portnoy for this tour to jump on board quick enough. I keep making that joke. It's so morbid. But the drummer from Dream Theater, every time a major band loses a member, he's just like, yeah, I'll fill in. I'll do your last tour with you. Or I'll do this tour with you. Or I'll do that tour with you. I mean, he's the guy. Mike Portnoy is just an amazing drummer, and God, would he be so good in the Foo Fighters. He'd have so much fun jamming out with that stuff. But I don't know. I think Dave Grohl's gonna call it a day. I think that there's no reason to keep this band going without one of his best friends, the drummer that's been in the band since he was the drummer in the band. I don't know if you guys know that story of the Foo Fighters, but essentially Dave Grohl recorded the first album after Cobained himself. That's dark, but moving on. He recorded the entire first album by himself. I think it was a self-titled Foo Fighters album. Then the next album, The Color and the Shape, he had been playing live with a band, and they'd been writing these songs. And then when they went to record, Dave Grohl wasn't happy with the drums, so he's like, well, I can just re-record this myself, so why wouldn't I? And he didn't tell the other drummer, and when the other drummer found out, he was mad. He was like, are you kidding me? This is kind of BS. So Dave Grohl was like, well, oopsie daisies. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. So they went out and got Taylor Hawkins, who I believe was with like Alanis Morissette at the time. Again, another big 90s act. And they just became bestest friends and brothers. And you could tell not only like a couple years into him being in the Foo Fighters, but like 5, 10, 15 years in, him and Dave Grohl were pretty much like different mothered brothers. Different mothered brothers? Brothers from another mother? Yeah, something like that. And it's a hard loss. And, I mean, Dave Grohl is talented enough. He can just make whatever he wants. He doesn't need anyone. He can Trent Reznor it. He could Devin Townsend it. Like, there's so many options for Dave Grohl. I don't think for him worrying about where his next paycheck is because his drummer passed away is a big issue. I think he's really worried about, Taylor's family and the fallout of it, and I think he's dealing with it. I mean, this is the second major person in Dave Grohl's life that's passed away tragically young. I mean, Taylor Hawkins with 50, but I don't know. I could definitely see those guys coming out in walkers, just like in their Run video from a long time ago. I'm not an expert on the Foo Fighters. I like the Foo Fighters. I'm aware of the Foo Fighters because of their size in current media. And then Dave Grohl's just like, again, he's a human being. So I get, like, he's not a perfect human being, but he's a human being. And he's just a wonderful human being for the most part. I know he's not perfect, but he's just, everything he seems to do is wonderful. His music, not always the best. I think when it comes to how the Foo Fighters have operated, their singles are always just bangers, but I don't know a single Foo Fighters album where maybe The Color and the Shape is the best thing to like a complete album that I'm like, yeah, everything's a banger on here. I mean, half of In Your Honor is really, really good. The ballad stuff's not amazing in my opinion. I mean, my favorite album isn't even there. What I would say is their best album, but Wasting Light is probably my favorite album by the Foo Fighters. And that album was recorded on analog, and that's an album that I would definitely love to have, but I don't think I'm going to have it. I don't think I'm going to own it. More or less because I know that it's probably shot up just like the cost of everything. Well, man, that's the other thing about being vegan is if, going back to that if you don't eat the processed food, like the processed tofu and the processed beans, it's actually really cheap. It's really cheap. Veggies, rice, cans of beans, like all of it's just very cheap. You can live like pretty frugally on a vegan diet if you guys are looking at saving money and losing some weight. But hey, it's yeah, that was a nice little monologue about the Foo Fighters. I hope you guys learned something about them, and about me with them. Like I said, I kind of know their history. They have this documentary called Back and Forth, which I probably seen a few times. I don't actually know if I own it. If I don't own it, Amy, you kind of slipped on the Christmas gift. Get me Back and Forth on DVD, or just download it, torrent it for me on Pirate Bay. I mean, don't download it. That's illegal. But if you could get it for free for me, that would be fantastic. And then we can just watch that together. We can just hang out, watch that, and be bummed and happy. And I mean, sometimes I go back to the thing of like, don't be sad it's over. Be happy it happened. Don't be sad it's over. Be sad it happened. That just sounds like the most miserable life when you're done looking at it. But geez, I am happy. I'm happy that this band existed. And I mean, I think my first like real exposure and cognitive, this is the Foo Fighters, was Rock Band with Learn to Fly. And then yeah, it just that's been on my mind. So that's today's episode. I mean, I kind of covered diet, and maybe I'll talk a bit more about it, and maybe I'll log about it this week. Oh, keep the log. Tell you guys all my secrets. I've been whispering a lot in this episode. I hope it comes out through the music, because I've turned the music up a bit. I was finding it was a little quiet, so And now I'm rambling. So for Wednesday, March 30th, I'm Chad Jones. And wait for the outro music. Wait for the outro music. I'll talk to you on another time.